Several Western nations are breaking with Israel and the US on this issue. As you know, France, Britain, Canada and Australia are among those countries who've recognised the Palestinian state ahead of the EGA, while Mr. Netanyahu accuses them of rewarding Hamas. Now, in an interview with CNN, a senior Hamas official told us that the October the 7th attack created a golden moment for the Palestinian cause. I'm going to quote directly from Ghazi Hamad, who said, "You know what is the benefit of October the 7th now? If you look to the General Assembly, when 194 people opened their eyes and looked to the atrocity, to the brutality of Israel, and all of them, they condemned Israel. I think this is a golden moment for the world to change the history." Portugal is one of the countries to have recognised Palestinian statehood. The Foreign Minister, Paulo, Rangel, is with me now. Sir, when you hear what Hamas said, it validates the criticism that recognising the Palestinian state without a ceasefire and without other pieces of conditions in place is rewarding Hamas for October the 7th, because Hamas certainly sees it that way.
Well, I have to say that is exactly the opposite. Hamas is one of the defeated from the recognition. You have to see that this recognition was decided in the framework of the Declaration of New York that was approved by the General Assembly by 140 votes, 42 votes, in the 12th of September, on the 12th of September. In this declaration, Hamas is condemned expressly for the first time by the General Assembly. This is a huge defeat for Hamas. In this declaration, we say that Hamas has to be disarmed and that they cannot apply to any election in the future Palestinian state. So this means that this is a defeat for Hamas. This is a position of despair.
So what was the magic, if you will, of recognition at this most sensitive of times, when clearly the very act of recognition is pouring petrol on the flames?
I have to say that this is the right moment, because in
Why?
this moment, that's what I'm going to explain. Because in this moment, you have a three pillars agreement between some Western states that didn't recognize Israel till now, Palestine till now, and they have done it on the verge or during this General Assembly. Then you have a lot of Arabic countries that showed the disposal, the willing to recognize Israel and normalize relations. And the third pillar is the commitments, or are the commitments of the Palestinian Authority, that accepts to have a state where the external security will be provided by an international mission, where they accept elections and institutional reform, when they condemn Hamas and all the terrorist attacks, and they forbid Hamas from being an electoral force in the future. These are achievements that were never obtained before. At the same time, I have to say, and Portugal is a very good friend of Israel, and we don't have anything against Israel, quite the contrary. But what we have to say is that some declarations of some members of government claiming for annexation of West Bank, claiming for, like Prime Minister Netanyahu repeated today, that there is no place for a Palestinian state, this also demands from us the recognition of Palestine, because we were always defenders, supporters, believers in two-state solution. When you have some steps from the Israeli government that I believe is not from the Israeli people in the direction to avoid, to impede, to hinder the Palestinian state, of course the recognition is, I'd say, a useful instrument to stop this process of impeding the existence of a future Palestinian state.
Can I turn to Ukraine, if I may?
Yes, please.
the insistence by the President of the United States that the European Union countries stop importing oil and gas from Russia. Now, huge strides. Your own country still, I believe, imports a certain and limited, very small amount from Russia of liquid natural gas, LNG. But do you see this as being realistic, or is it an off-ramp for the president to basically say, well, look, I'm not going to do anything until you do anything, and you haven't done anything, so I'm not going to do anything?
No, let me say, I think it is realistic to ask for that, even if you need some time. If you look at the imports of Russian oil, Russian gas, Russian energy, it is a miracle. It is really amazing the way that European Union countries were able to reduce dramatically in 3 years their dependence on Russia, on energy coming from Russia. Now we are speaking about very small amounts. And so I think that is feasible, is really, we can achieve that, this aim of having no dependence on energy from Russia. This is not, I would say, something that is not possible. It is rather possible.
Sure, but the problem, Minister, is that the President of the United States has made it a sine qua non of actually him doing the next step. And the reality in the Ukrainian-Russian war is that you need pressure from the US now against Russia, and the president's basically putting it off until the EU does its bit.
Well, I have to say that we have to be patient in this moment, but I believe that the United States should give one step more. And we, as very good friends of the United States, Portugal, a very old ally of the United States, we really trust that this will be possible. So what we have to look, and I think that this is something that we can, in our talks, also underline and show, is that we have reduced it in such a way, the dependence from Russia, that now is really something that is not relevant.
Right.
Of course, we have still 2 member states where this is the case, but I believe that here, the United States, they have leverage to convince them, and we have technical solutions to reduce dramatically their dependence. That is the case of Slovakia and Hungary.
Ah, yes.
But let me say, in the other cases, the reduction is so big that I think that this won't prevent the United States to take the steps that, and here I fully agree with you,
right.
We need the United States pressure to stop Russia and to convince Russia to come to the table of negotiations. Right. This is very clear. We need really these steps, but look, the declarations that President Trump has made, the post he has made this week is very encouraging, because right. He's there saying that there is a prospect of a victory of Ukraine, and so this has changed in a certain way also the mood, and I'd say I'm pretty convinced that we will bring the United States to understand that the reduction of the dependence on oil and gas is so big that this will be achieved in the next 2 or 3 years, and that will be enough to have the United States completely on the side of this necessity, this need, this urgency for pressure over Russia.
I'm grateful for your time tonight. Have a safe journey home back to Portugal when you fly back. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Richard. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.